This video is about converting an M561 Gamma goat with a manual transmission and V8 big block engine to a vehicle with automatic transmission and fuel injected engine. We choose a TH700R4 and a Chevy big block with throttle body injection for this project. Okay, today April 26th. It's a pretty dark day, 74 degrees. Perfect weather to walk outside, so I'm walking on the Gamma goat, and I unloaded the new fuel injected engine yesterday from my work truck here. And essentially this is almost ready to go. It needs to be dressed up. I need to put pulleys, new pulleys on the front for alternator and accessories, and clean up the engine, put new valve covers on, and repaint it so to implant it later on into the Gamma goat. Yesterday, on the 25th of April, I removed already quite a lot of parts from the Gamma goat. We'll see here, there's a lot that needs to be removed before we can even attempt to get the engine out. Seats, transmission cover, radiator, exhaust system, carburetor of the engine, fans, cooling fans, fan shrouds, and all the small things that I needed. So now the engine compartment is pretty much free and clear. The engine is hanging on the engine hook that I bought to move both engines. Engine is free so far from all wiring, but the engine mounts down here have to be removed, and of course I need to remove the transmission mounts, which like this on each side. The transmission linkages to the shift lever, the universal joint that connects the transmission to the transfer case, and all cables, accessories. Then I can lift the transmission and engine combination out of the truck. This is the engine lift already in place. I hope it will work out well, so we'll see. Alright, the old engine is hanging on the lift, completely undone with transmission. So I have to figure out how to move it out of the truck, because the truck is pretty high. Truck a little bit, so everything is there, ready to go, ready to move, and then I need to clean up everything inside and start making measurements for the new engine. And it started raining this morning, so I went to the transmission builder and I got a case. This is an empty case called a mock-up case. So there's really nothing inside, it's empty, but I can use it to make the measurements to fit this transmission, including this engine, instead of the manual transmission with the other engine. So, well, I see already this transmission is quite longer than the manual transmission, so there will be some work involved. Well, let me figure out how to move this out here, and I will be back. Okay, engine hanging outside. It's quite a job for a single person, because it's not easy to move the engine stand because of the weight of the engine. So that's what it is. Now I have to move it out of the way, and as we can see, the engine bay is virtually free. The engine mounts are still here. That's what I have to modify, and of course the transmission mounts I have to modify or even make new to accommodate the new transmission, and the engine that has to come further down. Alright, so well, we'll get this beast out of the way here so I have space to walk. So I guess the new place for the engine will be somewhere here at the entrance. Alright, until later. Okay, the engine sits on the ground for some while now. In the meantime, after it came out, I cleaned up the gamma goat. All the remaining parts that I don't need are gone. For example, the clutch assembly, a pedal, and everything that belongs to it. It was quite a bitch to take that thing out, crawling underneath the dash. I think I have some bruises now, gee. But yeah, everything is prepared now. This is the transfer case, sitting by itself here. Well, there's still some of the old transmission mounts that I'm gonna put with everything else into the pile of parts that I took out. Quite a lot of stuff that is not really needed right now. So, collection of parts. Now we'll look at the engine valley here. I'm climbing up the ladder and climbing into the truck. Alright, this is what we have available now. Yeah, drive line down there, all the room, everything is removed. I still have to power wash everything before I gonna install, so it's nice and clean. And this is the transfer case. Shifter, everything is gone, and down there remains only the brake and the gas pedal. So everything is out, including computer. And this is the remaining space for the engine. So we have to move the engine back quite a lot because the automatic transmission is longer. This is all the electrical, battery down there, fuel pump, fuel filter, and again the trailer with all the stuff that I took out. Alright, I think that's enough for today. I'm getting tired and my back hurts, so I think we're gonna continue another day. Alright, today is May 1st. I came back from the transmission builder. He built this heavy duty TH700 R4 transmission It's an overdrive transmission with a low first gear, and I picked it up and have it here on the back of my truck. So this thing is ready to be installed. It came with the torque converter that's in that box. That black thing here is the lower transmission cover that goes into this area here. It's called the dust cover, and the torque converter goes into this area. And there is a dipstick, transmission fluid dipstick, and all the little brackets that are needed to install the cables of the transmission, and bolts for the torque converter. I got a transmission mount, and here's the electrical connection for the lock-up converter. This guy that built the transmission actually teaches on the community college how to build transmission, and the name of his company is right in there, Outlaw Transmission. He put a little trick in that transmission, so we don't need a converter and a computer to let the transmission know when to lock the torque converter. It does it automatically. He has a little trick in there that will, based on the pressure of the transmission when it is in forced gear, will lock the torque converter automatically. So, well, that's the news for today. I also received a few parts from Summit Racing that I need to put on the engine. Oh yeah, almost forgot. There is a coupling that goes here from the output of the transmission to our transfer case. I found a machinist that will build me this coupling based on my specifications. Nice guy, his name is Dan. He has a machine shop in Glendale, and I gave him two parts: the output shaft from the old transmission and a new slip yoke that goes in here, and one needs to be cut off, the other one needs to be cut off, and then the whole thing needs to be welded and pinned together to make it strong. So this is the last part I need to get everything together. After I have that together, then I'm gonna mount this to the engine right here. The engine is so far almost ready. I cleaned it up, I repainted it. I'm waiting for the accessories that go on the front of the engine. This water pump I will change because we don't want to have a used water pump on the engine, and I ordered a high flow because we will run two radiators, and of course we will have pulleys and an alternator on that engine, so that will probably come tomorrow or latest Saturday. So after that, of course, I can lower the engine assembly and transmission assembly into the gamma goat, which is now an empty gamma goat, no more engine. And then I'm going to fabricate the mounts to mount transmission and engine. Well, that's all, folks, for today at least. Hey, looks like Christmas, May 2nd today. I bought a few more parts. Here is the fluid needed for the automatic transmission. Of course, it's the best. It's a fully synthetic automatic transmission fluid that was recommended by the engine builder. Here I'm filling the torque converter with a quart of fluid. That was also recommended. I got a pack today from Jags. That's the company making the parts. Here, for example, Jags. I got the pulleys for the alternator water pump, brackets, bolts. This is the flex plate that mounts the torque converter to the engine. I had to drive to downtown Phoenix today to get this from a speed shop. It's heavy duty and it meets all the needs, I guess. Another bracket for the alternator. We have some motor mounts that I'm gonna put together here. A box of stuff that I can weld on later on. The high output alternator that I'm gonna mount to the engine, and the high volume water pump. Dang, here it is. Alright, high volume water pump. This pulley mounts right to it. Alright, so everything will look nice and good, and hopefully work pretty good. So I'm gonna install those components now on the engine, so the engine will get ready to be mated with this lovely transmission here. We'll see. Alright. Well, the engine is dressed up now. I have the accessories mounted, alternator, the new water pump, and the pulleys. So this is the high power alternator, the new water pump and pulleys, and at the end of the engine the new flex plate that will mount the torque converter. Alright, and this is part of the new engine mount, engineered engine mount. Same on the other side. Okay, so there's a piece that inserts in here to make it possible to weld to a frame rail, which we don't have, so I have to make one. Alright, that's all folks for today, Friday, May 2nd. The engine is ready to be bolted up to the transmission. Alright, it's Saturday the 3rd of May. I got back from the machinist, and he gave me the newly made output yoke for the transmission. See, custom made to our specifications, and it goes in here at the end of the transmission to transfer the power of the transmission to the transfer case. And this is the original style yoke, which is kind of different. So this was cut off, and he did some test welds on it because we had different materials. It was quite complicated. One was cast iron, one was cast steel, and he managed to put everything together, pin it, cross pin it so that pins going through here and through there, and he made a square flange inside, put it in, pinned it and welded it for additional strength. So that's the way it is. Alright folks, I have the torque converter already installed, and the next step is to mate the transmission with the engine. Alright, engine and transmission are mated up. There was some initial resistance during the mating ceremony. Transmission didn't want it to, but you know, a little bit force always helps. So this is tied up together. Torque converter is in there. I still have to bolt on the torque converter, which is now rotating to the flex plate, which will be a fairly easy task, but not at the moment, because we probably have about 95 to 100 degrees out here, and I cannot even touch the bolts here. They are probably about 150 degrees, so I will have a little break until the temperatures are going down, until I have a little bit shade on this side here. When I'm done putting the engine into this compartment, I can move the truck backwards underneath this nice canopy here, and then I'm in the shade. It's easier to work and keeps you a little bit cool, but as I said, it's too hot right now, so I will have a little bit of a noon break. That's all folks. Wow, this thing is hanging high. I need to bring it over the hump to shift it back into the truck, so everything is mounted to it. Looks like it's pretty ready to go, right? So now the hard works begin, because I need to lift it further and move the whole thing. So we'll see how that works. This is a pretty darn heavy one-man job here. Just have to inch that bitch piece for piece in here. It's pretty difficult, since we have one little obstacle, this end pipe here, that's right in the way. So I have to inch it around to get that thing properly in without damaging anything. So it's hanging there, but I'm getting it. While it's in there, it's not in the right position, but it's in there. I need to reposition the engine crane to grab it further up back here, to position it right, so I can make sure everything fits properly. So that's the next step, and we'll see how it works. Alright, the engine is inside, including transmission, and at the moment is perfectly lined up. There's a level at the chassis to make sure the chassis is leveled, and there's a level on the engine to make sure the engine is leveled, and I employed several straps to pull the engine into the right position. There are actually 1, 2, 3, 4 straps, and the engine hoist to locate the engine forward. And as you can see, it's a pretty tight fit in here. There's not much room left, because engine and transmissions are very long. Let me get out of the track here, go to the other side. So So there is another hoist on top of the vehicle. This hoist is actually lifting up the end of the transmission, and you can see the drive shaft and double cardan joint are perfectly lined up here in a good and healthy level. This strap here pulls the transmission into center. This strap here will level the engine to make sure it's level with that carpenter level here, and then this strap is pulling the engine to the side to make sure it's perfectly centered. And here's one part of the new engine mount that I still have to cut and put into place and then weld to another piece of steel that is actually connected to this frame rail here. And for the transmission, we have those old mounts. They need to be mounted to this part here, which is underneath the transmission. It's a rubber mount, so I need to make a plate that comes around and cradles the end of the transmission properly. Alright, so there's still some work that needs to be done, and here at the other side of the engine we have the same kind of mount that needs to be cut and then welded in place to a steel beam that mounts to this part here. So everything seems to fit right now, and again this is the clearance we have to the end of the vehicle. There's not much left. Alright. Okay, we return to the Gamma Good project. Today is Thursday the 8th of May, and yesterday I built some engine mounts and welded them in. This is the final product. You see there's a plate mounting to the side and another plate mounting on the original ball mounts, and we have the same on the other side. The engine is still level, and I put another backup plate underneath the wheel well, and you see that plate here, so we're doubling up the plates to hold the engine mount in place. And of course the same is on the other side. The engine sits already, you see the engine hoist is removed, and here we have the same, a custom made engine mount for the front of the engine, and again a support plate on the other side so we don't rip up any metal. Now the last thing to do to mount the engine and transmission combo is a mount for the end of the transmission. I had finished that today. I welded it together, constructed it this morning, and it is right here. This is the support beam that supports the transmission. It's all heavy duty welded, and the transmission rubber mount is on top. This will bolt into the engine bay to the transmission. But before we do that, I'm gonna clean it up, finish painting it so it looks good and doesn't rust. Well, we'll see you later. Alright, the transmission mount is installed. It was quite an undertaking. since we have to line up 4, 6, 7 bolts precisely, and it took me some time. I had to realign a little bit, but the drive is now sitting perfectly in line with the transmission, and everything is mounted solid. So this looks pretty good to me. We'll see how it works later. So next step is to get the engine set up properly with fuel injection, wiring, exhaust system, which has to be designed, and the cooling system. So first major step is done, engine is mounted and engine is sitting. A few things have to be adjusted. My old throttle cable is of course too short because the engine mounted backwards. The oil pressure sensor is too far away. That needs to be adjusted. And a few other little things. So, well, I'm tired for today. I will clean up everything a little bit and then see what I can do with the rest of the stuff. Alright, that's all for today.